Welcome to Ask Fear and Greed, where we take your questions and do our best to answer them. I'm Michael Thompson, and good afternoon, Sean Aylmer.
Good afternoon, Michael.
Sean, today, I was going to describe this one as a bit of a doozy, but there's a bit to it. It comes from Linus, today's question. He sent it in via the website. There's multiple options. You can do it via Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn, or the website fearandgreed.com.au, which is what Linus has done. He says, good morning, Michael and Sean. He put me first. Please note that, Sean. Says, gentlemen, a question, if I may. Each weekday, the markets refer to the ASX Open via the ASX SPI futures contracts. But what are the actual futures contracts? What constitutes futures contracts, and what do they measure? Or perhaps more correctly, how do the futures manifest themselves as a points measurement? I'm presuming that there is an index that allows a points measure to be compared on a moving basis day to day. He says, thank you, gentlemen. And he says, well done to you both. And the young Adam Lang, referring to our colleague who judges us on the Fear and Greed Weekend edition. It's been many, many moons since Adam Lang has been called him young Adam Lang. Anyway, he's not here to defend himself, so I won't sledge him any further. Sean, what do you think of this question?
It's good. It's good. I think he's answering the question himself, though. So what's a futures contract? It's all it is a contract, an agreement to buy or sell an asset at a specific price on a specific date in the future. That's why it's futures. So it could be a commodity. It's a futures contract for gold. Could be equity, which is what the SPI. It could be some other financial instrument. So these indexes cover all sorts of different classes. They used to be for institutional shareholders for a bunch of reasons, which I'll come to in a moment, though nowadays people can trade on the ASX SPI futures, SPI futures, so you can buy onto that. It is just an index. So when Linus talks about an index that allows a points measure to be compared on a moving basis day to day, that's exactly right. So it's just an index like the ASX is an index. But what it is measuring how people are viewing and buying and selling futures contracts. And remember, futures contracts, so today's Tuesday, I'm just saying, and the first Tuesday in January, a month's time, I want to buy BHP or sell BHP for a certain price. So that's all that does. Why do we use them? So it allows you to bet on the direction of a market without actually putting as much money up. So if I want to buy my BHP shares, or I want to go into a contract, and let's say BHP, it's trading at $30, let's say, and I think it's going to be $35. So I might enter a futures contract to buy BHP shares in a month's time. It costs the 30, and I set the price today about what I'm going to pay in a month's time. That's probably the important part there. So that kind of, you can bet on benefiting from BHP if you think that it's going to rise and it's cheaper now, then you can take a bet on that. So that's one way. That's one benefit of it. Another thing is, if I own lots and lots of BHP stock, maybe I've got too much BHP stock. So maybe I want to take a bet that I'm going to sell my BHP shares in a month's time just to offset the fact that I own so many of them. So that's another reason that people tend to hold futures contracts. The SPI 200 futures, that was another part of it. I mean, that is kind of, there's a numerical thing. Off the top of my head, I think it's like $25 in cash for each index point. And so the value of the market is worked out on that. And that's how you work out your SPI futures contract. I'm not quite sure that I'm answering the question here, Michael.
I think so. It feels like there were multiple parts to it. And what I kind of took partly is kind of how is this used to predict where the market is going to go when the market opens each day? Because you often see...
So I haven't actually addressed that. And we will often say on a Monday morning, futures trading suggests blah.
Yeah.
And what it means is over the weekend or, Friday following Wall Street, people have taken out contracts and they expect the market to open down. and it may or may not do that. Often it actually follows the futures contract in the first few minutes, but then lots of news hits and people report to the ASX, and so it either continues that way or goes the opposite way. So quite often you see this change in direction where futures saying this, but because of the news of the day, it turns out the opposite.
I was never sure how much of those predictions was based on kind of futures and how much was based on just the raw performance of, say, Wall Street and the lead-in that you get from that market.
Yeah. So where the big difference is, so futures do reflect Wall Street often. So that's true. But what futures buyers and sellers don't know is whatever's going to come out on the ASX in the morning. That opens at 8 a.m. Trading starts at 10 a.m. There's 2 hours worth of news. And if something like yesterday we ended up with Northern Star coming out buying De Grey Mining, right? If you had actually thought, De Grey Mining's not going to do very well over the next 2 months, I'll take a futures contract, you would really have done your money big time. But if you had bought them, you'll do really well out of it.
I reckon we've answered Linus's question. I'll say that much.
Right.
And I reckon we have probably answered a few questions that weren't actually asked there as well.
I apologise.
No, it's good. It's an educational experience. One day we will look back in 10 years' time and we will have 10 years worth of Ask, Fear and Greeds.
Yeah.
And you could basically just take them into any university and just go, here you go, guys. Here's the syllabus.
That one's good. I wouldn't listen to that one.
Skip that one. I don't think they knew what they were talking about in that one. It's
Okay.
just like, or this is what not to write in your exam.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway, look, thank you very much, Linus, for the question. Thank you, Sean, for answering it.
Thank you, Michael.
Now, if you have your own question that you would like us to tackle, and you can make it as tricky as you want, and you can ask as many sub-questions as you want as well, as Linus did, then please send it on through. Do as Linus did. Head to fearandgreed.com.au, pop your question in there, or go to Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, any of the social media platforms. Send us through a message and we will put it on the list. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is Ask, Fear and Greed.